Thank you. Thank you for having me. Our mission is to protect the ocean. I've got some pictures about that, but I'll tell you about our organization while that happens. We're a nonprofit called Rozalia Project for a Clean Ocean. We're based in the Northeast US, in Vermont, and along the coast of New England, operating between New York and Bar Harbor, but with partnerships that take us all over the world. Thank you. We use multiple strategies to address the problem of marine debris, which is the problem that we've spent the most time working on over the last 10 years. Those strategies are cleanup, but also to do more than cleanup, which is prevention through education programs, embracing innovation and technology, and doing solutions-based research. We work from the surface to the seafloor, so shorelines, the surface, and we don't throw people overboard. We use an ROV, a remotely operated vehicle. I'd like to introduce you to Hector the Collector. This is our ROV right here. We can do more than just look at what's underwater, but we can pick it up. We have a specific and deliberate focus from the beginning on our urban and coastal waters. Knowing that the majority of our marine debris comes from the land-sea interface, we believe that's where the most cost-effective solutions will come. We thrive on great partnerships, from universities to elementary schools, funding organizations, corporations, family foundations, and a whole lot more. And finally, we're optimistic. In the face of an overwhelming problem of ocean trash, we're optimistic because we recognize that this is a problem made by the collective we, and we believe that together we can get ahead of it. Rozalia Project operates from the oceanographic research vessel American Promise. I could talk all day about this boat. I'm one of her captains. I'll just tell you that she held the solo nonstop circumnavigation record. So one guy sailing around the world alone, the first American and third human to do so, did it on this boat. But what I'm most proud of is that we've turned her into the greenest sailing research vessel in the world, with solar, wind, and hydropower giving us 100% of our house bank, our non-propulsion energy needs for the last 5 years. We can talk more about the boat. Rozalia Project works on a variety of marine debris issues: derelict fishing gear, consumer debris, and microplastic. And what I'm going to spend a little bit of time today talking about is the microplastic side. So to repeat what Dr. Shim talked about, microplastic can be defined a little bit. There's still some consensus that needs to happen, but under 5 millimeters, and there's 2 general types. The first we'll call primary microplastic. These are little tiny bits of plastic that were made small. They were meant to be this small. And they include categories of items like microbeads. Are you familiar with microbeads? They were put in cleaning products and toothpaste to clear your skin. They've been banned in a lot of countries now. Resin pellets. This is the raw material for plastics manufacturing, so that's pre-consumer. So it's this clicker before it was a clicker, or a toothbrush before it becomes a toothbrush. And then glitter is plastic as well. There are biodegradable glitters, but it can be a primary microplastic. The second, of course, is secondary microplastic, and these are little bits that have broken off of bigger. So we have fragments, so chunks, little tiny chunks of plastic that broke off of bigger things, and fibers. What we're looking at here are fibers that likely broke off of fishing nets or something quite large. When you use a Newston net, which is this type of a net that you tow on the water, you can collect microplastic. And that's what we did primarily for the first couple years. And this is the type of microplastic that you find. You can actually get quite small pieces. But when you switch methods and use what's called a grab sample method, so scooping up water and taking that water and vacuum filtering it through something really, really small, we can find something even smaller. Have you heard of microfiber pollution before Dr. Shim mentioned it? Some people. like he said, our clothes are breaking in our washing machines, among other places, and those tiny bits of our clothes are washing out our machines into our public waterways. I'm just going to set up the problem. This is a problem that when we learned about it, we didn't discover it, but when we learned back in 2013, 2014, this was a problem that really screamed at us. And we wanted to understand it better and to be part of the solution. So to set it up, here is my favorite fleece dress. We wear fleece dresses in Vermont because it's cold. And here is fleece magnified. So you can't see this with your naked eye, and you can see that it's quite vulnerable. I'm not saying that it's not good. This is not a vilification. It is just simple fact that there's some vulnerability there. And there's been studies that have determined how vulnerable this stuff is. This is fleece in particular, that one fleece jacket could produce over 81,000 pieces of microfiber per garment per wash. Another study took an acrylic long sleeve shirt, just like a collared long sleeve synthetic shirt, and they found that that could shed up to 700,000 pieces per garment per wash. I have heard that there are some places with filters small enough to get tiny pieces of microplastic, but in the US, there's virtually nothing to stop this pollution in the washing machine. This is all we've got. It is a very kind of large filter meant to protect your pipes from coins, bills, my business card, whatever it is you leave in your pockets. And so this picture is what microfiber pollution looks like as it leaves your drain. We filtered drain water from a winter's load of laundry, dried it, and magnified it. As far as dangers go, Dr. Shim did a great job describing that, so I'm going to go straight to solutions. We worked on a solution to this problem, and I'd like to introduce you to the Cora ball, C-O-R-A, Cora ball. The Cora ball is a solution, certainly not the solution, to microfiber pollution. Actually, we can pass it around a little. You guys can check it out. It is made of recycled and recyclable material. Our goal is to be part of the circular economy with this. It's a durable object meant to last 5 years. We are making it in the US, and I'm working on a partner here in Korea, but right now it's available to walk into places in 15 countries and over 70 shops. And it's something that can be used in any washing machine. So it's meant to be part of this solution. You just toss it in or drop it in if you have a top loader. And when you see it, as it gets passed around, it may remind you of a sea creature. It was inspired by coral. Because what we realized is we needed to catch small things from flowing water. That a normal filter is the way we need to go with this, normal by just fine mesh filter. But in washing machines, we realized that could take a very long time to develop. And we wanted to come out with something that could make an impact immediately while raising awareness about the problem. And so after rejecting some terrible ideas that we built and didn't work, and then realizing a filter would take too long but is something we need, we thought, who solves this problem? And it's coral that solves this problem. Coral is stuck to a rock, and yet it catches small things from flowing water. And so that's where our inspiration came from. The Cora ball works with, not against your clothes, and helps to tangle bits of fiber. You clean it like you clean a hairbrush, and until we figure out a way to upcycle our collective laundry lint, washer, dryer, all of that, it has to be thrown away. Now, we're thinking about everyone, but especially Rozalia Project's role in the path between knowledge and solutions, because we're working on this problem to make an impact. And so here's some of the places where we're working. The first is, it's hard to solve a problem that you don't understand. And this is a relatively new problem in the world of science, especially the microfiber side, but let's call it microplastics in a big picture. And so here's some of the work we've done. In 2016, we went to the Hudson River. The Hudson River starts high in the Adirondack Mountains of New York State, and it wiggles its way 300 miles down to New York City and meets the Atlantic Ocean at a navigation buoy called Ambrose Light. We sampled every 3 miles the surface of the water looking for microplastic and microfiber pollution. We mostly found microfibers, and we had surprising results. We expected a relationship, a direct relationship between population and the presence of microfiber. What we found was no statistically significant difference in concentration across the whole river. So we had statistically, as much microplastic and microfiber where there were no municipal wastewater treatment plants, and really, honestly, no people allowed to live in the Alpine region, as we did in New York. Now, while the single biggest sample was the one closest to a wastewater treatment plant, when I got the results, I went outside to our dryer exhaust. And this is what I found on the foliage right outside our dryer. It was covered in microfiber. And so we realized we needed to collect more information. As often, science begets more science. And so this year, thanks to funding in part by National Geographic, a corporate partner, and a family foundation, the Schmidt Family Foundation, we went back to the Hudson River to collect information that is really important to shrink that distance between knowledge and solutions. And so we sampled this time in the air. We sampled at high up in the air when we were on our research vessel, which was the lower Hudson, and as the principal investigator, I got to decide this at my inhalation height. So we sampled the air, we sampled the soil. So the air takes care of what is suspended microplastic. The soil will tell us about atmospheric deposition, so what falls out of the sky and sits on the soil, or perhaps was there in the beginning, so runoff. And we sampled the surface of the water again, all of this every 3 miles. We also added the middle of the water column, and you can see this is a clever device called a Niskin bottle. It lets us drop it down to whatever level in the water column we'd like to test, send a little thing down, it closes the sort of doors, and we're able to get a mid-water sample. We also are we partnered with some people working on technology called Luminex to identify nanoplastic. This is taking something that we already can't see with the naked eye and going into items that we can't see with normal microscopes. So really, really small, and it'll be fascinating to get those results. I hope that by this time next year, we have submitted, hopefully even better published our results, and I can't wait to share those. It'll certainly be interesting. We also worked on supporting innovation on this same trip, and that meant field testing some science-enabling inventions. So one is called Easy Lift Tape. Has anyone in this room done vacuum filtration or worked with filters? Well, there's a problem with this is you get a filter, and honestly, if you sneeze or trip while you're holding one of these filters, you ruin it. And you can see how difficult that makes this kind of science. It's kind of vulnerable. So we took this huge 60-foot sailboat and 9 people, and we sailed it up the river, and then sneezed on a sample and ruined it. That's tough. So the Easy Lift Tape helps fix the sample. Incredible technology for science enabling. Here, takes away the whole concept of contamination. You put a microplastic sampler in the water, it pumps water at whatever depth you'd like, and it has a built-in optical sensor that uses infrared technology to tell you that there's polypropylene, nylon, and whatever else you have in there, perhaps cotton, and obviously natural items as well. This technology is still being developed, but will be a huge help, not just in front-end science, but also in monitoring. We're taking our data to contribute these data sets. This is an especially important data set because it's spatial temporal. It's a whole river in a short amount of time, consecutive sample sites, and that will help with predictive modeling, which we've already heard from other speakers. And we fixed cameras on the boat to work on the possibility of automatic detection through cameras of marine debris, working on the same type of goals that we heard from Pete, that we need to understand this problem, but then we need to monitor whatever solutions are implemented. Now, innovation isn't the only way, and so we too have been working on weaving our scientific experience into education programs, into meaningful education programs, and we've been working on doing that specifically with microplastic which hasn't really been done a lot before. So one game, it's called Feeding Frenzy. It is to identify all the different ways that sea creatures eat. So different tools they use. They don't have opposing thumbs, obviously. And so if their plankton, represented by rice, were infiltrated by microplastic, we let the kids experience how difficult that is to separate. So they're using things like combs to replicate baleen and different tools to replicate how other types of creatures eat, to realize that if you're a sea creature and there's microplastic and your food is about the same size as microplastic, you're going to ingest it. We work with students to design their own experiments that are related to microfiber pollution and shed rates. So this is kids working on a shed rate experiment. So think about the variables that may contribute to that. For us, we've thought of 60 variables that contribute to how much your clothes would shed in the washing machine, and so, of course, how much would be caught by the Cora ball. And then we work on cleanups. But for us, it's so important to go beyond a cleanup. The cleanup needs to happen because there's a lot of trash out there, but it is a spectacular tool to inspire people and to set the groundwork for solutions. So after a cleanup, we dump all the trash back out, separate it, record that data, analyze it, compare it to what exists already, investigate how some of that trash might have gotten there, and brainstorm solutions. We let people work on what screams at them. You heard me say microfiber pollution screamed at us, and that's why we've spent the last 6 years working on it and developed the Cora ball and continue to work on solutions that are even more effective. We find that that kind of passion generates more creativity. We are also working on the concept of science telling, is what National Geographic calls it, science telling, or let's call it communicating complicated ideas, or just communicating about science and nature and the environment. That's not something that's going smoothly in the US, I have to say. And we want to inspire young people to make sure that as they're learning, they're also learning how to communicate. So activities include learning how to do posts, learning how to make little videos. This is a public service announcement about to happen. I'm going to wrap things up with some of my favorite innovations. I don't need to include the sea bin, since you've already heard about that. But I am going to mention something that Pete also mentioned. These are the nets that Borrego takes from fish. They buy from fishermen in Chile, and they turn them into skateboards, sea bins, sunglasses, and games and other things, so that we don't have to use virgin plastic for articles that people are using. And even more importantly, in this case, those huge nets don't go to landfill, and they don't end up as ghost nets. Here is a simple and creative solution that I saw in Napa, California, in wine country at a coffee shop. You guys see what that is? Spaghetti as a stirrer. So instead of using something plastic and disposable, they're using spaghetti sticks, or I don't know what an individual piece of spaghetti is called. A piece of spaghetti. These are called eco bricks. I learned about these and made some while in Jakarta last year, but I know they're being used around the world. I see a couple of people nodding their heads. This is utilizing currently either hard to or impossible to recycle items, especially in island places. So those are 2-liter bottles stuffed with the not very recyclable things like food wrappers, and then used as building blocks. Art can be a way to communicate about this problem. One of the things I'm most impressed about Busan, I've never been here before, is your public art. You have so much spectacular public art. And right here, what this is in Rhode Island. This is using a storm drain painting to remind people that our storm drains are connected to our public waterways. So essentially, if you drop trash on the street, you are putting it in the mouth of an octopus. And then, has anyone seen of the Mr. Trash Wheel? There's Mr. and Professor Trash Wheels. They're very large-scale river devices to catch trash coming out of a river. They're propelled by the current and solar power, and there's a conveyor belt. They have booms that corral the trash. The conveyor belt brings the trash up, puts it in a dumpster, and the statistics are pretty impressive when they're placed in a strategic location. This is a bigger scale to what the sea bin is doing, so they're complementary technologies. Now, the innovations that exist are not the only ones. I want to hopefully inspire you all to be part of the solution to marine debris, to microplastic, to whatever screams at you. So here are some thoughts on that. There are some opportunities for innovation. There are a lot of opportunities for innovation. Concerning microfiber specifically, there's some upstream in the textile industry. So if we take just synthetic clothes, there's some information we need to know. Can we make our clothes more resilient at the chemistry level when we make the plastic? Can we make them more resilient by turning them into stronger fibers at the extrusion, turning the pellets into fibers level? Can we weave it better? And can we inspire designers to choose materials that shed less? There's opportunities for innovation with consumers. And there's opportunities for innovation in the laundry industry. Like I said, ultimately, it would be great if our washing machines and dryers did the job. There's even opportunities in detergent to either promote shedding or inhibit it through different enzymes. And finally, at a municipal level, there's opportunities to address this problem in wastewater treatment plants and septic systems. So a septic system is what I have on the mountain where I live. We don't have municipal water. We have our own system. You as individuals, whether you have expertise in textiles or not, you can make a very big impact yourself. This is in your book, but I don't think translated. I had some help. Google Translate did not do a good job, so I appreciate the conference staff for helping me. To do a variety of things that seem small, and sometimes they don't feel like you can make a big difference taking these actions. But when everyone in a room, in a town, in an organization, in a city, in a country starts to do this, it makes real impact and real change. And I've got some numbers to prove it. An independent test said that the Cora ball has a 26% efficiency rate. And they figured out that if all of Toronto used a Cora ball, together the community could keep 6 to 9 trillion fibers out of their wastewater treatment plant every year. So that's a lot of littles making a big. Take one disposable water bottle. Does anyone have a guess of how many pieces of 1 millimeter microplastic that would make? So 1 millimeter is kind of big in the microplastic world, but that was easiest to calculate. So guesses in numbers. Anyone brave? All right, I'll just give it to you. A little less than that. So, but 1 millimeter is big. So, by not letting a water bottle end up in the water, preventing it from existing in the first place, you will protect the ocean from 39,000 pieces of microplastic. How about for one disposable grocery bag? So, like this big. A guess there? Pete guessed 100,000 for the bottle. It's more than that. 426,000 pieces of 1 millimeter microplastic. That is an easy, big impact. It's something that everyone can do. We will have an impact when we go to the campaign and clean up a beach this afternoon. I look forward to doing that with everyone. And thank you again for this honor to come here and speak to you.
레이첼 밀러님의 유익한 발표 감사드립니다.